I guess I didn't swag enough. Stupid fruity pebble chain. We bag enough. I guess I didn't swag enough. Stupid fruity pebble chain. We bag enough. Poppin' tan model BC couldn't brag 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 enough. I guess I didn't swag enough. Stupid fruity pebble chain.
And welcome once again to another episode of the Horizon Roundtable. I am Bob McDonald, and joining me for his debut as the permanent co-host is Jim Sarow.
That is catching me off guard. I thought it was summertime. I'm like a D2 college basketball or D3 college basketball player when it comes to podcasting, which means I don't have official practices during the summer, but here I am anyway.
Well, you're now a D2 to D1 transfer now, because congratulations. All right, Jim, you can find on Twitter at Jim Sarow. You can find us on the web at horizonroundtable.com. You can find links to all of our social sites and where you can find us where podcasts are available at horizonroundtable.com/subscribe. Become a patron. Patreon.com/Horizon Roundtable. How you haven't done this yet, and we have all these features on Patreon right now. I don't know what to tell you. And of course, we're in the middle of our summer donation drive, so you can definitely donate to us at horizonroundtable.com/donate. So I figured that we should, since you haven't officially become we haven't officially had a podcast episode since you became co-host, I figured we might need to do that.
Yeah, iron out the kinks a little bit in the summertime, test out the communication systems, make sure that, there's still Horizon League basketball. I think that's a good idea to get one under the belt, get ourselves ready for September, because the season and practice are going to be here before you know it.
Yes, indeed. Actually, well, summer practices are going on right now. So yeah, that's pretty good. But there's always something going on. There always seems to be something going on with the Horizon League, whether we know it or not. That's why I keep doing the men's version of the starting five, or maybe it's because I'm in a secret competition with Kyle Rossi because he does the women's ones all the time, and I'm like, I don't want to do those that often.
I think it's probably equal parts of both those reasons, to be honest.
It's entirely possible. It's entirely possible. I don't know. But as we are recording this is I think this is like the last day of the summer league, the NBA Summer League in Las Vegas. We've heard I know in my version of the starting five, I kind of broke down who Horizon League wise is actually playing this year as part of the Summer League. Jamal Cain, we thought he was going to be in New Orleans, but he is in Minnesota. And Trey Townsend. That's why because Griffin Beers had made mention that Trey Townsend was going to be at New Orleans and was going to play with Jamal Cain, and that just never happened because Jamal Cain, who played for the Pelicans last season on a two-way contract, I believe, is now in Minnesota doing Jamal Cain stuff. Yeah, but most of those guys played pretty sparingly. The two guys that except for like this last game, I know Jamal Cain scored double digits and things like that. But the two main guys in the Summer League, for as far as we're concerned, maybe not. The first one is you're all that concerned about Pat Baldwin Jr., who was
Ooh, that guy played in the Horizon League?
He did. He only played like 10 games, but he did play. I think he played more than that, honestly. I think he did play more than that, honestly. So, it's entirely possible that that's the case. But yeah, I mean, he's on a two-way contract, so it's like, okay, that makes sense. He's on a two-way contract with the Clippers. It's the Clippers, right? I can't even remember what team he's on. That's how pathetic am I? See, I have all this time to prepare for this episode, and I can't even remember what team frickin' Pat Baldwin Jr. is on. Of course, I can't remember how many games he played in the league either, in the Horizon League either. So there is that.
And well, I'll say this: I think I would say Pat Baldwin on a two-way that's prime time like NBA move. Like, there's a guy that he has a lot of skill and a lot of ability. He hasn't been able to put it together consistently at the NBA level, but you never know with guys. People progress at their own rate, stay at the game and or stay in the game, and you maybe could get a serviceable bench player out of that.
I
He
mean,
hasn't had a
his.
tremendous amount of opportunity yet, but could pay off.
I mean, he's had a decent summer league. He's averaged 16 points a game, so he's definitely he's definitely got made the most of the time that he's actually been in the league, been in the summer league. So sure, but again, he's also we're also talking about a guy who is probably going to. I mean, he's on a two-way contract, so he's certainly going to be around at the very least for training camp, and then probably off to whatever the Clippers G League team is. Probably, I don't know.
I think
It's
is that
hard to
the
keep.
Caliente Clippers or something like that.
I know.
I don't know where they
Oh,
are,
I
but
don't know. Isn't that? I'm trying to figure. Is that the Mexico City team? I don't know. See, and by the way, yeah, Milwaukee fans, you're not allowed to be mad at me. I picked your team to finish first. My way too early picks. You're not allowed to be mad at me. I picked them first.
now, did you
Eh,
pick them first so that they wouldn't be mad at you, or did you pick them first because that was from in your heart of heart and in your brain? I want to know. Put it on the record right now, Bob. Is this just to give you an easy breezy summer, or is this a real pick?
Oh no, no, no. I definitely this was a genuine pick for me. So it's coincidental that I can't remember where Paul Baldwin Jr.'s G League team is eventually going to be. And I don't think it really matters either, because let's not forget, PBJ never played for Bart Lundy, so can't really do anything about that one, can we? So, but yeah, that's no that. And by the way, there's a very good chance I'm gonna be doing the Milwaukee preview for preview week too. So, because for whatever reason, Jim, I cannot find a Milwaukee writer. I don't
Bob,
understand that.
I have the solution of all solutions. Ready for it?
I lay it on
This is
me.
big. Okay.
Yeah.
Panther Nation. If you do not have somebody step forward to write the Horizon Roundtable preview and the all season coverage, Bob will not be writing the article. But damn it, I will, and you won't like what I'm going to write. There, we're putting it out there. Your choices are rival fan or somebody steps up to the plate. You guys choose.
Well, that's okay because I made a joke about Eric Fisher doing it, and Will Sarah flipped out. Like, no, it's a joke, dude. It's a freaking joke. This isn't a joke, but that was a joke. But I really want to do the
I've
preview
written.
though, because I gotta
All
I got
right,
Bart
fine.
Lundy on speed dial. Like, how many coaches can I say that fit?
That you know what? That's fine. But the point is, somebody step up, cover the team. The team is going to be very good. They are
Yes.
scheduling. I was looking at the schedule. They're scheduling to win. They've got a
Yeah.
roster to win. This is the these are the times. Whoever that person is, I don't know who the person would be, but whoever it is, this is the kind of stuff. Like if you're on the fence, jump in head first. These are the kind of seasons you're waiting for.
Exactly. That's what I'm. Yeah, that is. I am 100. I am in 100% agreement on this one. So yes, go to horizonroundtable.com. Go to the help wanted link at the top of the page, and learn more and apply. We can't really pay anything right now, but maybe subject to change. That's the whole end goal of this, by the way. Maybe maybe that's why I'm losing writers all the time, because that's why the
No,
donations are so important, by the way.
the donations are super important. But as we've talked about for anybody, these are just tremendous opportunities to share your passion and your content and your knowledge of the
Yes,
game, and you never know where it's going to go from there. You just,
it,
but yeah, I
very
think
true.
that getting somebody in there that's passionate Panther fan and wants to share that vision and be the next Jimmy Lemke for God's sake.
I
There's
mean,
room for more than one.
there is indeed. There has to be. God. We've known this fan base for probably longer than most. So yeah, you are 100% correct. Um, so now that I've gone through all that, let me talk about the other guy who's been doing pretty well in the summer league this year. That's Tristan Enaruna. And he played all five. He played all five games. I think he even started a game too. for the Cavs. So I really need him to be on because he had a G League contract with the Celtics last year. I actually thought he was going to be on the Celtics summer league team this year, and that didn't happen. But something better happened, and I say something better happened for me because obviously it's the Cavs.
Now, if Inaruna were to be on the Cavaliers G League team this year, would you
Yeah.
go to the theater or wherever they play those games? Because they don't play at the Wolstein anymore. Don't they play at like a venue like a half mile
They
away?
play
That's
at
like a converted.
they play at Civic Hall, which is a part of the Cleveland Convention Center, and they spent a bunch of money redoing Public Hall. I'm sorry, Public Hall, but they spent a lot of money just kind of refitting redoing that entire area, and it looks really nice. Now, mind you, I didn't go to any of the Charge games when they were in the Wolstein Center, and I'm probably not going to go to any of these either. But which is sad because I think Loudon Love spent like 5 seconds with the Charge as well last season, and I didn't realize it until he was gone.
I didn't realize we were going to be dropping Loudon Love references on a summer edition of the Horizon Roundtable podcast. I mean, is this the 2019 summer discussion, or what do we got going on here?
I mean, he was around. I know he was around for like a second, and I think he's playing in the basketball tournament now, which we're going to talk about a little bit because I know that that is in full swing right now. Which, I mean, sure. But yeah, Tristan and Aruna, I know he's been trying to get I know from what I understand, he's been trying to get work on getting at the very least a G League contract with Cleveland. And I think he's done more than enough to be able to do that. I think in the 5 games he's played, I mean, he's done pretty good. Especially when you got like guys like Tyrese Proctor and Craig Porter Jr. Craig Porter Jr. was on the actual Cavs roster last year, and Proctor is their second round draft pick. So you know you know being on that team with those guys and doing as well as he has, I think he's made I think he's made a compelling argument. Uh, like I said, he
No, I
averaged
saw.
about. I'm sorry.
I was gonna say, do you have his stats handy, Bob? Because I heard
I
what I
do.
read was 13 points. Does that sound about right?
That is correct. 13 points a game and 3 rebounds a game, and yeah, he's even dished out for an assist and a half. So pretty well-rounded, pretty well-rounded performance in those 5 games. So
Well, and think about the NBA game too. Everybody in the NBA game, more so than even in college, has to be able to shoot from the perimeter, have to, for that spacing, because the
yeah,
three-point line is 2 or 3 feet further out. If you can shoot from deep, you're creating more space in the paint for people to drive. And I read that Inaruna was 35% from deep. I didn't see how many attempts he took, but you're talking about a guy whose best season at Cleveland State was 32.2%
yeah.
and was a 26% three-point shooter in 5 years of college basketball. So for him, if he took a step forward with that three-point shooting at his length, because he's like a legit 6'8", like
Yeah.
rangy guy,
Hmm.
he's got a chance if he can shoot because he could
Yeah.
get to the hoop. I mean, it was a devastating because he was he a left-handed finisher if I remember right?
I want to say
Um
yes. I should know this. I'm going to hell for
I feel
this,
like he
but
was a lefty.
but
And
yeah,
if he wasn't a
to
lefty, he was good at finishing with his left hand, but he could get to the hoop. But
yeah.
if he's got that range on the three-point shot, that would
Mhm.
be a big step forward
And it does
for
look
him.
like if it does look like during this summer league he definitely found that because he was like he averaged about 4 3-point shots a game. So which we never, I mean, we didn't see a lot when he was at Cleveland State because obviously at Cleveland State he had to be more up in the front court because they were a little, besides him and Spider they were kind of short a little bit, but
Well, and plus when you can get to the rim and finish like that guy could, well, why screw around
yeah,
with three when you could finish at will against everybody for two?
exactly,
I
exactly.
thought it
You
was
know what?
interesting. I saw his free throw percentage was down in the summer league, and it could just be not enough attempts, but he was like a 57% free throw shooter in the summer league versus 70 in his Cleveland State time, if I or
Wait,
his
he was
college time,
that
excuse me.
high? Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, he did not have a good summer league as far as the charity stripe was concerned. I had
Yeah.
some I was having some negative flashbacks from some of those Cleveland State games where the free throw shooting, or maybe that was in general, because there were a couple of years during the Daniel Robinson era where free throw shooting was not good. I think it was his last year was definitely a good example of that. But yeah, but you know, sometimes you got it, sometimes you don't, and he didn't really have it. But he definitely made up for it in other areas. So I wouldn't consider it a hell-worthy trespass that he was clanking free throws, but I'm not sure how many he took, truth be told.
Yeah.
He
I
didn't.
didn't see how many he took, but I just know
Yeah,
for a guy
he
like
took
that.
he took like 15 15 or 16 the entire time.
Okay.
So is the for across the 5 games. So maybe he had a bit. I think the first game he did not do great from beyond the
Okay.
arc, and it kind of hurt him for it hurt his percentage for the remainder of the time. So,
That
but
makes sense because
again,
15 attempts isn't enough where, if you miss three, that changes the outcome of the percentage, even though it's a small batch of opportunities. So yeah, I think that maybe he's be back to his normal shooting range. But a guy like that as a pro,
yeah,
ultimately, when you're a role player in the NBA, you have to be able to knock down a 3-pointer. And then if somebody runs you off the line as a shooter, you got to be able to straight line drive to the hoop and finish. And there's a ton of guys that make their living. The Bucks had a guy, Pat Connaughton, who just lived in that role, shot his 3-pointer, or if you ran him off the line, he drove and then found you the next pass or finish if nobody stepped over and helped. And a guy like Inaruna could definitely do that
oh yeah.
at the pro level with his length. And I mean, he was super athletic. I mean, let us not forget, he did start his college career at, where was that again? Kansas, I believe.
Nope,
They're
it
pretty
was
good
Iowa
usually.
State because he was at Iowa State when Daniel Robinson was assistant.
But he was
I'm
at
sorry, you are
Kansas
correct. I'm sorry,
before.
he was at Kansas. You are correct. He was at Kansas first, then he went to Iowa State, then he went to Cleveland State.
Yep. But when you think about that, like this is a guy that to make it to Kansas as a starting point, granted,
Yeah.
recruiting isn't everything, but to start out that level, they're not screwing around with you if you don't have, the basic, the it factor. And so for him to finally put that together and have a shot at making an NBA roster or hopefully making that charge roster and get you down to the public auditorium at least once, that would be, we can have a Horizon Roundtable night, and you can for all those Patreons, they can come and pick up their tote bag in person.
Yeah, by the way, yes, I'm glad you brought that up. By the way, during we've added some incentives to our donation drive. Um, we actually posted those on both Twitter and Blue Sky. If we get to $1,000 before $1,000, Kyle Rossi is giving away two tickets to the Viking soiree, which is funny because a good chunk of our donors slash Patreons are Cleveland State fans. So, actually, I think but they are the ones who donate the most. Oakland, I believe, is coming close. Especially thanks, Matt, by the way, for your donation. Um, but yeah, and then Eric. By the way, Eric Fisher is giving away a couple of Green Bay tickets, either to the men's or the women's game. Because his feature drops on August 22nd, 7th. August 27th. He talked to Jeff Norgard. So yeah. So so I'm actually excited to read that. But yeah, and you can only read it if you're a patron. So patreon.com/Horizon Roundtable. And if you donate, he's gonna raffle off some tickets. Hopefully, I know these are like some regional specific, which is why I had to throw in the tote bag. I have watched way too many PBS telethons, man. Way too many. Probably gonna have to
Hey,
watch a lot more now.
it gets the job done. You know how to make it work.
No, I don't. That's why I'm probably gonna end up having to hire a donations person at some point. I suck at this. I mean, I'm fair to middling. Let's just call it that. I'm kind of giving away something I'm going to be posting in August, but yeah, I'm kind of sucky at this. I
Whatever.
need
That's the
help. Help.
go to Horizon Roundtable help wanted. There's not a posting there yet, but there will be for
There
not
will
only the
be.
Milwaukee
Yes.
writer, but for the
Yep.
person who wants to run some of this marketing stuff for you. But
That's right.
with all that said, what else is going on in the Horizon basketball wise? Where are we at? What would you like? Where do you think we should go from here? We got the Inaruna conversation, the PBJ conversation. What about current state of the Horizon League? What's got your eye? What's got your
All
attention
right,
right now, Bob?
so I gotta say this because this involves Green Bay specifically. At least it did last season. The arrival of Jonathan Levy, who um, is he really? I feel. I mean, I was gonna make an old joke, but then what am I making an old joke for? I'm still old enough to be that guy's dad. Um, but no, but it's funny because when Jonathan Levy was added to the Green Bay roster, I'm sure I wasn't the only one thinking how long. I mean, he actually had some EuroLeague experience, and he came on in, and now it was an anomaly at the time. It was in the middle of course, it was in the middle of January, so but still. But now you see now see other teams doing this, and you actually see Power 5 teams doing this. Folks, guys who had a cup of coffee on some EuroLeague team, all of a sudden making their way to some of these college rosters, and I'm like, yeah, Jonathan Levy crawled so everybody else could walk.
Well, and that goes to show you the power of the financial component of college basketball today. I mean, I don't know all the things with visas and what it takes for a player to get paid, but I know this. If you're playing professionally in Europe at a level and you're looking over here at the States going, I could hoop over there and maybe make more money and get an education
Yeah,
on top of that, it's got to be awfully compelling for guys who probably would have just played some club basketball instead. So it tells you a lot about the state of American college basketball. And unfortunately for uh, Green Bay, the Jonathan Levy experience did not really go that well. I think they only won 2 games after he arrived, and one of them he didn't play. So it wasn't as if he was additive to winning, though he was a hell of a nice player. Overall, he had a lot of skills, and had he been a better fit for the Phoenix, or the Phoenix been a better fit for him, perhaps he would have had a strong second year. I'll be curious to see how he does. Where did he go again, Bob?
he
What
went
was
to
that really pretty
Pepperdine.
college?
He went to
Yeah.
Pepperdine. Sorry,
Yep.
Valpo. He
So,
didn't go to he didn't go to Valpo, and I'd be the first to tell you probably for the best.
from a standpoint, I like the Pepperdine fit for him from a couple of things. Like one, it's obviously a gorgeous place. It's a good league in terms of the West Coast Conference, but it's a league that's not too far beyond what he's probably capable of as
Sure.
a player. So that's probably a good fit. And then I think I saw, did Fort Wayne bring in a player from
Yes.
overseas? I thought that they brought in
Yuna
some.
11. He is also from Israel. I guess he spent a year playing for the Israeli league, and he is now at Fort Wayne. Apparently it took him a while to get here because I guess obviously with the situation in Israel there, he had to take a boat to I think Cyprus. I think I can't remember off the top of my head. But yeah, took him a while to get here, but he did better late than never.
Now, think of the irony of this. Anytime that you see a Doug Gottlieb article, the comments are almost universally just absolutely roasting him about his basketball acumen. And, Doug loves that. Like he eats that for breakfast. But from a standpoint of, take a look at the rest of the Horizon League, copying Coach Doug Gottlieb. Here's John Kaufman, super successful winner, and he's looking at that going, you know what I need? I need to get myself a big man from Europe. I need to get myself a guy from Israel. That's
Well,
you know,
Purdue Fort Wayne
trendsetter,
needed
Doug
a big
Gottlieb.
man, period, because they only got like one or two. They had Darius Duffy and I can't remember who else. Probably I think a freshman, but that was about it. Yeah, getting this guy in, they absolutely needed. Oh wait, I'm sorry.
Yeah, you think about
What's it? D'Angelo is going to be back next year. I didn't realize I forgot he had eligibility left. So yeah, I guess he is coming back.
Well, but if you think about their team last year with Mulder and Cutthroat, they had very
Yeah,
solid, serviceable Horizon League level plus big men.
yeah,
Like that's an advantage when you have two guys like that that can play above the rim, that that are going to get rebounds and putbacks and just clean up the mess. And
yeah.
I can't say that D'Angelo Elise is going to do that, or
I think
Darius
Darius
Duffy will be
Duffy
that
will
guy.
do it before them, but I think Duffy
Yeah.
would definitely be kind of the I don't know if I would call him a replacement for Eric Mulder. He's definitely bigger than Eric Mulder. So
Yeah.
I see a situation where I see more of Duffy than I see either Elize or uh, Levin. It's not to say we won't see them often, but we'll definitely see more of Duffy than anything. I think the big problem that Purdue Fort Wayne is have to replicate, kind of make up for no more Rasheed Bello, no more Jalen Jackson, no more Quentin Morton Robertson. And I mean, I think I think he will probably. I know what he's got coming in. They should be if they can get some production because I think I'm sure I mentioned this in the too way too early preview. Way too early picks. I am terrible at picking where to put Purdue Fort Wayne. Also, speaking of which, I'm sure Green Bay fans were probably very happy where I put them, while everybody else on the planet thought I was insane for putting them fourth.
Hey, you know
But I
what?
did. I
Green
said what
Bay.
I said.
Hey, and when you look at their team, they have upgraded their experience, they've upgraded their size. The things that were major problems for them, like rebounding, is a great example. They went out and got some guys that are probably going to help get rebounds. So you look at their defense wasn't that great. They're changing, their defensive coaching. The person who was in charge of the defense last year isn't there any longer, and you're bringing in guys that you think are going to fit to that new style. That a new teaching they want to put in. So anything can happen. Green Bay definitely is not taking the easy road. They're starting their season at Kansas,
Yeah.
but they have a schedule that's going to probably help them in terms of they've got a few more non-D1 games. Now, granted, that did not go well for them last season, but they've got some ones against like
Oh.
they're playing a school I didn't know what it was, but that's tied in through. I think I saw it on Twitter somewhere. They were playing a school out of Kansas, an NAIA school out of Kansas that was tied into the local Oneida tribe, and so there's some interesting things that are going on for the Phoenix. Honestly, it's the things that they weren't good at, they did address. So we'll see. I thought
It's
your pick.
true.
Who did you pick second, Bob? Did you have?
I picked Detroit Mercy second. I
Yeah. So I
love
want.
what Detroit Mercy did this season. I love what they got coming back. I love who they got coming in.
So I had a good laugh to myself when I saw that because the first thing I did was go onto Detroit Mercy's website, look at their basketball roster, and there's the 24-25 roster. And I think that, there are two traditions in sports that are like none other. One is the Masters, and number two is Detroit Mercy not updating their website until like September 1st with any information. So I
You
was
know
like,
what?
who the hell do they have?
Yeah, that was the a signature of the Mike Davis era, mostly because it took them until September to find the final pieces of those rosters. So you can imagine my surprise. So it sounds like they basically had their roster all put together. They actually tweeted about their with all the players with their jersey numbers like last week. So they're there. They've been
All
there.
right.
They've probably been practicing more. They've been practicing earlier than everybody else. Um, but yeah, I the way they're situated, I absolutely love where they're at as far as what they're bringing back is concerned because they were injured as all get out last year. Really, it killed them. It absolutely killed them. But the upside to that is they got three freshmen who got a lot more playing time than they probably wouldn't have otherwise. So you got Ryan Callambay and Nate Johnson and TJ Nadu who got a lot more playing time. And add to that Orlando Lovejoy coming back, big piece for them. Legend Jeter coming back and Jared Larry coming back, who we didn't see all last for the second half of the year because he got hurt, which also killed him. So I think just having those guys in. By the way, having the it's. I feel like it's funny. I feel like I'm repeating myself because I just did a podcast with Greg Peterson over his Coast to Coast podcast about the Horizon League. This sounds like a repeat. And by the way, he picked them 10th. So I picked him second. He picked him 10th. I think Detroit Mercy fans are going to go with me on that one. Just throwing that out there. But yeah, but
Okay. So on average, if they finish sixth, that'd be a major improvement for them.
it
Perfect.
will be. I do expect them to be a top half team. That is my expectation. The Lovejoy return, I think them gets them a lot higher, and I think that's kind of where they're at.
Well, and one thing that's super important to just thinking about in general for the league. Now, there's always going to be a last place team, right? But it's fair to say, and it hurts me to say it, but last year the Phoenix really struggling.
Yeah,
3 years ago they had a 3-win season, really struggling. Detroit's had some really lean years. If you can get the bottom tier of the league, the current bottom tier of the league, to elevate their programs, that can only go to help the overall strength of the league. So if
it
somebody like
needs to.
yourself who's following this is looking at it and going, hey, two teams that have been, dog water the last couple of years are putting some stuff together that could get them in the top half of the
It's
league,
okay, Jim. You
that's a
can
great
call them
sign.
dog shit.
I can't. They're still my team. I'm
I
wearing a
know.
Green Bay t-shirt as we record this, and I just can't quite bring myself to say that. But at the end of the day, if the bottom of the league has improved themselves enough that, an unbiased observer would look at them and go, that doesn't look that bad to me, or that looks pretty good. I feel like that's a really big sign for,
Yeah.
where we're sitting here in the middle of July for the prospects of the league overall.
And I feel like these two teams, specifically Detroit Mercy and Green Bay, the two teams that have back-to-back years have decided. Apparently, yeah, Green Bay and Detroit Mercy, who have apparently taken turns being really terrible and at the bottom of the league. I know you need Green Bay to do a lot better this year. We all need them to both do better this year. We cannot have a situation where you have a one-man court rush on Valentine's Day 2023 and 2024, the year after you had an Antoine Davis almost break the NCAA scoring record. I'm like, whoa, I mean, we can't do that again. I can't do that again. I mean, I could do that again, and it would be probably entertaining as far as this podcast is concerned. But as far as the league is concerned, it is not good. So
Hey,
bad.
all I know is that we need an update on where that one guy is. Does anybody know where he is now? The one man court rush guy. We need, and maybe in the dog days of August, he can be a special guest on the podcast or something. I don't know. It could be like a 5-minute bonus episode, but we need to know where's
I think
Court Storm
Tony
guy
Paul
today.
actually interviewed him uh, when it happened, and I'm sure my guy Alex Corey over there over at Detroit can we can figure out who that guy is. I'm sure he's like, it's a year ago. Let it go, Bob. I know we
No.
saved you from the NCAA. Yes, yes, that game that you saved us from the NCAA. That you saved it. Detroit Mercy saved themselves from the NCAA record for most consecutive losses. Also, you saved Detroit Mercy from going 0 for the conference, and still only one team has gone 0 for the conference, Jim. I'm sad I know what this is. I said I know who this is because
Oh,
it's
I
Cleveland. It's
guess
the
I was gonna
2003
say,
2004 Cleveland State went 0 for the conference. Ugh,
and was that the guy from Michigan State that was coaching,
that
or
was
is that
Mike
still
Garland. Yes,
Mike
Mike
Garland?
Garland,
Yep.
who by the
Okay.
way recently retired. I think last year. I want to say. Outstanding assistant for Tom Izzo. Outstanding assistant. Longtime assistant for Tom Izzo. It just never worked with him in the top
Well,
chair.
it's interesting that you say that he retired recently because some people argue that he was retired during the 2003-2004 season, then came out of retirement, went back to Michigan State. So,
Well, man, that was a 3-year retirement there. And then Gary Waters magically appeared out of nowhere, which is probably why Mike Garland sued Cleveland State for wrongful
yeah, those
termination. I don't know what happened there.
those things have a way of working themselves out,
They
where
do. But
things
no,
are not going well, and
it's
then
funny because
poof.
when I talk, I remember having at least one or two conversations with Mike Garland during that time, not during 2003-04. That was, he had his own problems going on, but yeah, he was a nice guy. And but again, sometimes, some guys, sometimes the top assistants aren't gonna, you know, they're great assistants, but that doesn't always translate to the head coaching job. We've seen it too. How many times have we seen it, Jim? How many times? Too many to
all the
count.
time, all the
Exactly.
time. Let me ask you a question about that team. Who was like the star player? Like, every team has a leading scorer. Like, who is the guy on a 0-win Horizon League team?
You know what? I'm glad you mentioned that. There were two guys. There was oh crap. What? Oh man, I can't remember his name anymore. But he was. There were two of them. Jermaine. Oh crud, what's his name? Oh, but I can. There were two guys actually. But one of them kept getting kicked off the team, and it was Omari Wesley, who led the team in rebounds, and I think he was I think I think when the Horizon League still had the all newcomer team, they actually had him as the. Yeah, he was the. It was weird because they had a decent team. They actually on paper they had a really good team, and for whatever reason, and I could never figure out why, they were just terrible.
Well, I
I
think
have
you
some. I
already
have.
answered the. I was
Yeah,
say I think you already answered it. You described him as the player that kept getting kicked off the team.
Jermaine Robinson.
Mm,
Yes, Jermaine Robinson was the top. Jermaine Robinson was the top scorer on the team. He scored 19 and a half points a game. And he didn't
okay.
get a sniff on any of the postseason awards. He was not on any all league team, and yeah, that did not help. But Omari Wesley, he averaged he averaged 8.6 rebounds a game. He was really good, but he just kept not. I mean, the yeah, the he did not get he did not end up on the last game of the year, which was the where they lost to. They think they scored 36 points against UIC in the tournament. It was like 36 points. Like, how does that happen? Here's how it happens. Omari Wesley is not on the court. That's what happened. But
Usually it'll
yeah, it
work.
wasn't a terrible. It was on paper it was not a terrible roster because he had, Jermaine Robinson was, he was good. Um, Omari Wesley, he was their best rebounder. You know, guys like Patrick Tatum. By the way, Patrick Tatum is apparently a pretty good college basketball coach in Canada now. But those guys, this was not a terrible team. It wasn't supposed to be a terrible team, and it just was. And I don't know. And they lost 25 games in a row and went over the conference.
Yeah, those are the kind of seasons. If you're still kicking as a fan after that, you can make it through anything. You can do 10 wins
By
standing
the
on
way,
your head if you can make it.
it totally turned me off to ever doing a road trip for a Cleveland State game ever again because I went to the Cleveland State. I went to Kent State when Cleveland State played Kent State, where they lost by, oh God, it was bad. They lost by like 50 or 60. It was terrible. It was the worst. Yeah,
Now,
that pretty much turned me off to the whole thing. That was so bad.
well, you have done a Cleveland State road trip indirectly. I mean, you've been
Like
at the
he,
Horizon League tournament in
that is
Indianapolis when
true.
Cleveland.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and they've
but
been
that was
there
for
4 years in
work.
a row.
That was for work. That didn't count. You
It
weren't
did not.
going if you didn't have this little hustle going. You said something. They only scored 36 points against UIC. It hurt my heart to see that. I think it's Detroit Mercy is playing UIC in the non-conference at Detroit, and it's like
Uh-huh.
every former Horizon League team, the good, the ones that have kind of elevated. You think of UIC, you think of Loyola, you think of Butler. They're all appearing on the non-conference schedule
They
currently
are. In
for
fact, Cleveland
various
State is
Horizon
going
League
to
teams.
Loyola this season. Which, by the way, I'm glad you mentioned. I'm glad you mentioned Detroit Mercy UIC. I'm getting Horizon Boy to go with that one. Horizon Boy. We've already had a conversation about it. So get ready,
He lives
UIC
for that.
fans. Horizon Boy will be. I'm going to work on getting Horizon Boy at that game, and hopefully we'll
Yeah,
also have a Detroit Mercy writer by that point. That
he
one's a little.
Horizon
I'm
Boy
a
lives.
little. Yeah, but yes, it's. It,
He lives for that. But it hurts my heart to think of like teams that, through doing the right things have kind of left us in the dust as a league. And now here we are in, getting bye games. Although I can't say for sure. I don't know if that UIC is a home and home against Detroit or just getting a paycheck. I'm
I
guessing
don't
that's
know
just
what
getting a paycheck because
yeah, I don't know what
that
I don't know
seems
what
like the
that
kind of thing that
exactly
Detroit would
is
do.
per se. I don't know if that's exactly I don't know if that's a buy game per se. I mean, I'd probably have to look and see if they actually are getting any money for that. Theoretically they are. I don't know. But but yeah, to your point. I mean, you see IU Indies going to Butler. IU Indy and Butler were never in the league at the same time, but they're playing each other. You know, Valpo's going to Cleveland State this year. They went to Cleveland State's going to Loyola this year. So
Yep. Butler, Wright State's going to Butler too, I believe, if
Wright
I
State is
saw that
indeed
correct.
going to Butler. That is true. So apparently there's a
Butler is
and
with that motto is scheduling to win because I looked at their schedule. I think they have one road game in the non-conference. Once your road game, a whole bunch of teams that they're expecting to, take to Pound Town, and then a couple of like crappier, power conference teams. But they were definitely scheduling to win
yeah,
this time because they have not really, the Big East has not been favorable to Butler
no.
overall, and so when they're looking around, they're like, hey. Who can we get where we can get a W? I know. Let's grab the team that Bob picked 11th in the Horizon way too early picks. Wait, you did pick the Right State 11th, right?
I did.
Uh, Hey,
I
I
did.
remember that. I didn't even have to look that up. That was like I remember that. I'm super
Well, of
proud of
course you
myself
remember that
for.
because everybody was giving me crap for it. Like, oh, you
Well,
picked them
if people
11th.
giving you crap, that's just another day in the week. That's not like
Well,
if
that's
we're trying to
true.
remember something based on people giving you a hard time, that's not
Yeah.
going to work because people are always giving you a hard time.
That's true, but this
So
one, yes, but yes, Wright State finishing, and again, I base that on what is their experience, the experience level of their current roster compared to the rest of the Horizon League. That's what I'm basing it on, guys.
now I don't know if this is true or not, but somebody told me that Wright State has the highest rated transfer, not class, but the highest rated individual player coming into the league. Did they get a guy from Merrimack? Does that sound
That
right?
is
Like a
yes,
six
that is
seven
the yes,
defender
that
type.
guy. I know who you're talking
Apparently, like
about.
the
Yes.
yeah, apparently like the portal rankings really like that guy in particular. I can't say I've ever watched him. This is like I just got home from camping today. I'm just like detoxing right now and stuff. So
Yes.
I don't know anything about him, but I do know that guy's supposedly one of the better incoming transfers, at least
You're
according to all the
referring to
metrics.
Brian Atumnu. That's the guy. So yeah,
Uh,
he is the guy
Brian,
from
who a
Merrimack,
Tumnu? Do
Brian
I need a
Atumnu.
Tums after drinking so much all weekend? Is that what you're telling me? What?
It's no, Atumnu. That is his name. I should have his yeah. And by the way, yeah, I know who he is because I should know who all these people are. Jesus, I've been doing this the transfer tracker business all since the portal opened and probably since the portal didn't open. The portal technically opened the second weekend after the first weekend of the tournament, the NCAA tournament, but obviously there were some eager beavers there because some of them were announcing they were going to the portal while I was still sitting in Indy. But yeah, Atumnu is from Merrimack. Yeah, I must have missed where he was getting. He must have had a pretty decent season.
I think he was like a really big defensive player, if I
He
remember, like
was,
a
and which, by the way, they
interior.
absolutely need. You are correct.
Mhm.
They absolutely
Yeah.
needed a guy like.
So hopefully he, provides a little something. I've been thinking a lot because I've always been when I've been a guest on your podcast in the past, I've always been the buy game police, anti-buy game guy. But I can definitely say that in 2025 and beyond, I see the place for the buy games more than before because
Yeah.
before it's like, all right, you're just making it easier to pay for buses or food or assistant coaches or whatever. But
hmm
now you can, like what did Cleveland? I mean, Cleveland State is playing Missouri. I'm
Yeah.
sure they got a pretty sweet deal on
Oh, I'm glad you mentioned that
financially.
because I finally got my Freedom of Information Act request from Cleveland State this week. Yes, you know how much they're getting from Missouri? Hundred
I
fifteen
would love to
thousand
know.
dollars. Hundred fifteen
Holy
thousand
crap,
dollars for that. I know.
that's a lot that's as high as I've ever heard for a buy
Yeah.
game. But you think about that, and I don't know how they're
Thanks,
going to use
Tennis
it.
Skates.
But
It was well
the
worth the wait.
115 grand in the Horizon League gets you two or three nice players. It gets
Yeah.
you a superstar player. So more so than ever before, I've kind of changed my tune. I don't want anybody playing Chicago State schedule, right? And this is not go play 10 buy games and make $1 million,
Yeah.
but putting a
What are
well-placed
you
buy
talking
game,
about there?
but putting a well-placed buy game on your schedule, like I think I saw UWM is going to Wichita State.
Yeah.
That to me screams like probably a game that they can compete in, probably getting paid a decent amount of money, and probably a game that they can take that money and put that right into their roster.
Well,
Because the
yeah. I
last I
mean,
checked, it's revenue sharing, and revenue
yeah.
includes game
And
money they get paid for
Milwaukee
games.
did pretty good in those games last year with Southern Mississippi and UCF. Both of those they had to have gotten some money for both of those games, and they came very close to beating both of those teams. So yeah, that's and especially where I think Milwaukee will be situated. I think to your point, I think they're going to be pretty well positioned to make some noise, even with these bye games, which I
Yeah,
expected. But this is my expectation. Well, Milwaukee fans, my expectation that
yeah, because I feel
you
like
have to do well.
they're playing Indiana and Wisconsin and Wichita State, which I did not research this, Panther fans, but I feel like that's one more power game than normal for them. I don't
Yeah.
normally feel like they play three. If I'm wrong on that, I apologize, guys. But like, they've always kind of had, and this is to the detriment of their fans because I see a lot of the chatter online where end up with a lot of like non D1 games and stuff, and people kind of get frustrated by that. But I feel like they've got, two, games that are against the Big Ten. I think at Wichita State, who's not the Wichita State that went to the Final Four, a decade plus ago. So I feel like that's a decent opportunity for them. Obviously, you have Oakland looking around, going, "Hey, let's get Houston and Purdue. Let's go, really push ourselves." I think they've got a game at Northern Iowa, though, if I read that correctly, somewhere.
I think
So that's
so.
kind of a winnable Oakland game. And my understanding is that Oakland has a sneaky roster in terms of, when you're constructing it in the revenue share era, that Oakland has one of those rosters that if we dove a little bit deeper into it, probably is a little more stacked than what my initial
With the
glance was
noted
going to be.
exception of Cooper Craggs, who apparently has transferred to Wayne State without us looking.
Well,
I feel bad for Griffin because Griffin did a feature on Cooper Craggs, and then like a month later, apparently he's transferred to Wayne State.
now is Griffin
Sorry, Griffin.
also moonlighting for the Wayne State Roundtable.com?
He is not.
I give, oh shoot, I didn't know. I thought maybe he could just, swap out the name of the team and put in Wayne State on the article. Well, that
No,
does suck.
I mean it doesn't matter. No Wayne State fan is going to be a patron anyway. So, I mean, I would be blown away if that was the case, but I'm not. It's not my expectation. Truth be told, I can barely get Horizon League fans to be patrons. I can't expect a non D1 fan to do it.
That's a good point. I'm looking around the schedule stuff. A couple of the games that stand out to me. I always look at the bye games. I look at the non-D ones if we know them, and then so far home games. And I may have this wrong, but I understand Indiana State's going to Milwaukee. I understand
Mhm.
Santa Barbara is going to Green Bay, and then I heard that NKU's got a game with Charleston.
Yes,
I'm assuming that's
that's going to be a game at Truist Arena. Yeah.
so. I look at those games as like kind of games if you're looking at that and saying each one of those teams is from either a better program or a better league, but they're
Hmm.
home games. And so like that's where the league, you know, as a mid-major fan, I mean I love this. So I look at that and go, if I'm a Panther fan at Indiana State, some people might say, yeah, it's not Josh Schertz's Indiana State, but still a Missouri Valley team coming to your gym. And Charleston has had a lot of success and clearly is spending a lot of money on basketball with, Chris Mack doesn't work for less than $1 million, right? Like,
No.
so Chris Mack is, or I'm assuming he doesn't work for less than $1 million. Chris Mack is coming to your arena. To me, that is a game you got to go to. Or Green Bay, Santa Barbara. It's kind of like one of those things. It's like it's out there on the West Coast. You don't realize, but they have had a really good program for a long time now, and that's
Hmm.
their coach. I can't think of his name, but he's a fiery little short guy. I've seen him in person, and he just never stops. He's intense. I'll just put it that way. But they have a really good team. Now, granted, it's
Yeah.
Santa Barbara. It's easy to recruit to that. But my point is, these are the kind of games as the Horizon League gets into the schedule. We can't come out of these kinds of games 0-3 as a league.
No,
We're already
we
going to take a bunch
cannot.
of L's on these bye games. We need to win these little like stretch games where they can say, "Hey, we got a good team at home and we kick their ass." Or we
Yeah.
eke down a 1 point overtime victory. It doesn't matter. We just got to get these kind of wins. And I hope that the league can get more of those. I know Oakland, Detroit, Robert Morris, some of those teams have done a really good job of scheduling like the MAC teams. And we have
Yeah.
not, I don't feel like we've done that well against the MAC lately, which stinks.
Yeah.
But
Well, it's funny because, well, except for Eastern Michigan, but that may be for another reason. Whatever happened to that gambling inquiry, by the way, with Eastern Michigan? Do we care? I don't know. Because one of the games that
yeah,
got flagged was Eastern Michigan and Wright State, which incidentally, I believe Wright State lost anyway. But to your point, you are absolutely correct. There are these games that are already scheduled, they're already out, that I would classify as winnable games. And this is kind of what we saw with Robert Morris last year, where they were winning those what we classified as winnable games. And that's kind of and that dictated kind of their success over the course of the season. They ended up winning the regular season and the conference tournament. You saw that. I mean, the same thing the year before with Oakland. They got to win it. Xavier. Was it Xavier? Yes, it was Xavier. I need to know these things. Yes. And out of the crush of buy games that they had, or always have, but in this particular instance in 23, 24, they got one of those wins against one of those buy games, which was huge for them, and they turned around and were able to be successful. I think that is going to be ultimately where we need to start looking at these teams as far as, okay, yeah, there are going to be some games that you're probably not going to win, but there are these kind of mid-tier teams that you're going to be playing that that are winnable. That if you have that talent on your roster, you should be able to compete against if and beat at least a few of these teams. And I think that's where we're going to have to go. I mean, and not just at the top of the standard, at top to bottom in this conference. That has to happen. I think that's the biggest issue we've had in this conference, where the bottom half of the conference has just been not great. And I keep saying every year, this is the year we're going to turn it around. And then after every non-conference schedule, all the non-conference games are done, and like, what happened? Yeah,
yeah, it's been an issue. The bottom half hasn't been strong, but the top half hasn't done their work either. And so
no.
now we see some teams, that are getting games. And I know you did not necessarily pick Northern Kentucky super high, but that's a game. That is a game that, if they're going to put a season together,
Yeah.
showing that, going up against a Charleston and having some success or being competitive will go a long way there. But yeah, you talked about
Oh,
Robert Morris
absolutely.
last year. Robert Morris scheduled, I think they had a tournament at their place, with a bunch of teams that they could beat. They didn't really have to play a ton of bye games, where they got their faces kicked in all over the place. Are they playing Iowa? Did I read that they were playing Iowa? Isn't that where their best player or one of their good players went to?
Oh yeah. No, I think I was. Yeah. Oh, no. Yeah, that's where Fulgueris went.
Yeah, I
Yeah, they
thought I
play him
read that
on
they
the
were playing
4th
Iowa.
of
Yeah.
November. You are correct. But
Is
yeah,
that
you're
like
correct.
like a parting gift? Like here,
I mean,
in today's
maybe.
new
You know what? I
transfer
think.
portal world, we take your player, you get a buy game, you can go buy another player. Is that like
I
that should just be
mean,
a mandatory?
if it, I might be a total coincidence. Might be a total coincidence, but it would be a happy coincidence, especially I don't know. It's going to be a brand new all Robert Morris team with just Ryan Prather from last year, but I guess we'll see. I mean, I think I mentioned in the podcast with Greg Peterson, if anybody has learned how to do the transfer portal, work through the transfer portal, and adjust to the transfer portal, Andy Toole has had the most experience with it for sure.
Oh, I feel like they're always rebuilding, even if they have a good year or a
Exactly.
bad year. It's like the continuity of keeping 3, 4, 5 guys together has been really
Yeah.
difficult for them. I feel like overall. And this was no exception. They were decimated, just absolutely. They had a
Yeah.
wonderful team last year, a wonderful season, and completely decimated. Kind of a wild card, team. But as I've alluded to before, they spent a decent amount of money on that team that they had last year, and if they were investing in their team one year, there's no reason why they didn't do it again. So they're probably another sleeper type team
Yeah.
where you look at it and go, I don't know who they have. I haven't done a ton of research. I do know who they have, but I haven't done a lot of research about those particular players to see how they're going to work. But if they were willing to get a team together last year that made monetary sense for them, I can't imagine they didn't repeat that same process this year. So
Yeah.
it'll be interesting to see how they shake out.
I would expect that to be the case at Robert Morris. I mean, and again, Andy Toole's probably had to deal with Andy Toole was dealing with the transfer portal thing before it was cool. So, so I think he's gonna be okay. Just kind of throwing that out there. So, all right, well, I think we're gonna go ahead and wrap this up. All right, so I'm sure we'll come up with something again. If not, the next episode will be the writers' forum at the end of August. But until then, HorizonRoundtable.com. That is where you can find all our podcast episodes and all of our articles. The intro music, of course, is Swag Enough Microwave Red featuring Meal and Fly Tie, produced by Sonny Collins. You can pull us up where all of our podcasts are available, wherever. Spotify, iTunes. By the way, could somebody Apple Podcasts? Could somebody do a better give us some better reviews than that 1-star review that's been sitting there for 4 years, actually 6 years? That would be nice. Would appreciate that. And you can post up on your Amazon and Google devices. So tune in next time. Until then, thank you guys for listening.